You're the one people call, not sometimes, reliably. When things fall apart, when someone needs advice, when there's a crisis that requires a calm, capable person, they call you. And you show up every time. Because that's who you are. But lately, there's something underneath the showing up that you haven't said out loud to anyone. A tiredness that isn't about any one person or any one situation. A quiet resentment you feel guilty for feeling. A version of yourself smaller, emptier, harder to access that's been showing up in place of the one you used to be. You're not burned out from working too hard. You're burned out from being needed too much, for too long, by too many people, while somewhere in the arrangement, your own needs became the ones that could wait. They've been waiting for a while now. You didn't decide to become the person everyone leans on. It happened earlier than any decision could have. Maybe you were the oldest, and responsibility arrived before you were ready for it. Maybe you grew up in a home where someone needed managing, a parent whose moods required monitoring, a sibling whose crises became yours to absorb, a family system where the most capable person automatically became the load bearer, regardless of what that cost them. Maybe you learned that love looked like usefulness. That the way to be valued, to be kept close, to be safe, was to be needed. That the moment you stopped being helpful was the moment you became replaceable. So you became indispensable. You got very good at reading what people needed before they asked. At anticipating, smoothing, solving, holding, at being the person who makes everything easier for everyone else. And it worked. People stayed. People valued you. People called you strong, dependable, a rock. And every one of those compliments quietly confirmed the belief underneath it all that this is what you're for. The cost doesn't show up all at once. That's what makes it so easy to miss until it's too late. It shows up as a short fuse with the people who don't deserve it, the ones closest to you, the ones who've never asked anything unreasonable, the ones who happen to need something on a day when there is simply nothing left to give. It shows up as a kind of hollowness after interactions that are supposed to feel meaningful. You help someone, they're grateful, and instead of warmth, you feel nothing. Or worse, a flat exhaustion. Like the transaction completed, but something got taken in the exchange, it shows up as the inability to receive. Someone asks how you're doing and you redirect. Someone offers to help and you decline before you've even considered whether you need it. Someone tries to take care of you and it makes you uncomfortable in a way you can't fully explain. Like being cared for is a role you don't know how to play. Like needing things is a vulnerability you can't afford to show. And it shows up in the relationships themselves in a slow, almost imperceptible shift where the people you give to endlessly start to relate to you only as a giver, where they stop asking if you're okay because you always say you are, where you've trained everyone around you to expect your availability and they comply, not because they don't care, but because you've made it very easy to take you for granted. You built that, not because you're weak, because a long time ago it felt like the only safe way to belong. The resentment you feel, the one you're ashamed of, is not a character flaw. It's information. Resentment is what happens when you keep giving what you haven't been given back, when the arrangement is consistently unequal and you keep showing up anyway. When you've said yes so many times, for so long, that people have stopped understanding that yes was ever a choice. You don't resent the people. Not really. You resent the dynamic. You resent that your needs became optional in an arrangement that was supposed to be about connection. You resent that being strong has meant being alone in a specific way, present for everyone, held by no one. And underneath the resentment, if you go one layer deeper, is grief. Grief for the version of you that needed things too, that was tired and scared and uncertain and needed someone to show up and learned instead to be the person who shows up for others because that was the only role available. That version of you is still in there, still waiting for someone to ask. Being a caring person is not the problem. The problem is the belief running underneath it that your worth is located in your usefulness. That love is something you earn through service. That needing things is a weakness, and giving things is the only safe way to be in a relationship. That belief was not born in you. It was installed by circumstances that required you to be more capable than your age, more available than was fair, more self-sufficient than any person should have to be. And it produced something genuinely good in you, real empathy, real capability, a real capacity to hold space for people in pain. But it also produced this, the depletion, the resentment, the hollow feeling after giving, the discomfort with being cared for, the creeping loss of yourself in the lives of everyone around you. You are allowed to be a person who gives and also a person who receives. You are allowed to be cared for without having to earn it first. You are allowed to have needs that are not immediately subordinated to someone else's, not instead of caring for others alongside it. That's not selfishness. That's the whole point of connection, that it moves in both directions. The pattern activates in the moment between someone needing something and you responding. That gap, which is usually a millisecond, is where the automatic yes lives. Before the yes comes, out, pause. Even a second. Ask yourself not as a performance, not as a way to manufacture a no, but as a genuine question. Do I have this to give right now, or am I giving from empty? Because there's a version of giving that fills you, that comes from genuine care, from real surplus, from wanting to help because you actually can. That giving doesn't drain. And there's a version that depletes, that comes from obligation, from fear of what happens if you don't, from a belief that saying no means losing something you can't afford to lose. Those two things feel the same from the outside. From the inside, if you're honest, they feel completely different. You don't have to say no to everything. You don't have to stop being the person you are. Just start knowing which version is running when you say yes. And once in a while, not always, just sometimes let the answer be, not right now. I don't have it today. And see what happens. Because the people who are actually there for you will still be there. And the ones who disappear when you stop being infinitely available, that's information. 2, you have spent so long being someone's safe place that you forgot you're allowed to need one too. The strength that everyone admires, the reliability, the steadiness, the way you always come through it was built on a foundation that was never meant to hold this much weight indefinitely. It's okay to put some of it down. Not all of it. Not forever. Just enough to remember what it feels